Hello, this is Socially Triggered, and in this video, this is part 2 of my two-part series of looking at the Democratic Socialists of America convention that just happened a few days ago. And I really want to comment on this second part about Linda Sarsour. I can never say her name correctly for some reason, but Sarsour, there it goes. Okay, so yeah, so her presentation was actually quite brilliant. I have to give her high kudos. And I'm not saying this lightly because I don't like Linda Sarsour. She is a horrible, horrible person, but she's a good speaker. And that's the danger of her, because she has that appeal to the youth of today. She can get out there and say the things that they need to be, which they need to hear, and she does it very, very powerfully. I want you to listen to her presentation, and I'm going to kind of comment on it as she's presenting, and I'm going to show you the things within it that we have to address. If we're going to help the youth of today, we got to address these issues, because she's really hitting on a lot of points. And I'll play her presentation, and you'll see very quickly the points that she hits. And you'd think these are going to be left-wing talking points, but they aren't. And that's the danger. It's actually right-wing talking points that she will present. You'll see.
What up, dear? So I get invited to these spaces because I got to speak truth, because that's just the Brooklyn in me. Like in Brooklyn, I always tell people it must be something in the water. Maybe the water is actually missing something. We just don't have any filters. So I'm just deeply honored and humbled to be amongst all of you today, amongst my New York City DSA members, my colleagues, so many people in this room, organizers that I've known and worked with for so long. You know, I literally looked at the program. I was like, what is Russia doing here? Why did she not tell me that she's going to be here? So I'm glad to have seen folks or be surprised by the presence of folks. My dear brother Abdullah Yunus, from co-chair of New York City DSA chapter, and Bianca, like I'm just really proud of the people that we brought here from New York, repping us back in our home state. When I think about DSA, and I think about the potential that DSA has to be a true political force in this country at a time when we need it most, these words from Muhammad Ali come to me. Impossible is just a big word thrown around by small men who find it easier to live in the world they've been given than to explore the power they have to change it. Impossible is not a fact. It is an opinion. Impossible is not a declaration. It's a dare. So I'm here to dare you, DSA. I'm here to dare you to center the most marginalized people. I dare you, DSA, to see solidarity as a verb, solidarity as a form of action. I dare you, DSA, to be not about you, DSA, but about the most broken and marginalized and hurt people in this.
So quickly you can see how she sets the mode. Right at the beginning, she says, that she's from Brooklyn, and she's no filters. That's so, that's almost what most right-wing people say. Well, it's not about your feelings. We're just going to tell you these facts. Well, that's a very right-wing kind of position that she's taking, which is really interesting. And she does it very casually. She says, I'm not going to filter anything. I'm going to tell you it as it is. And the kids love that. This is why right-wing commentaries do so well on social media, because people really want to hear no filters. We've been so focused on political correctness and all this kind of stuff. People are tired of it. So when Linda Sarsour comes out and basically says on the left that she's not going to use filters, that she's going to say it as it is, that's very appealing. Not only do these youth feel like they need to hear things that are truthful and honest, but they need to hear it from people that agree with them share the same kind of like lefty kind of view of the world. The next thing that she does is she says it's not about you. And kids nowadays are so narcissistic that, this is really breaking their little bubbles. And it's amazing that she even does this, because the point is, these people are so entitled, so brought up to believe that they're the center of the world. And for her to say, hey, no, it's not about you. There's people out there that are suffering. That has amazing appeal, because all of a sudden she's being the parent that they never got. She's being the parent that they were always looking for. Because we know intrinsically as people that the world isn't just about us. There's just too many people. How can it be all about us? When man learned that the earth was not the center of the universe, it changed our perspective. All of a sudden we couldn't be narcissistic, because there's just too much out there to be narcissistic about. How can we be the center of the universe when we're this small speck in that universe? Well, Linda Sarsour is breaking those people's bubbles to make them realize that there's a bigger world out there. And we intrinsically know this, but nobody's been saying this to these kids. So this is a great info for these kids. They're like, wow, they'll love it. They'll eat it up. Just like they'll eat up right-wing talking points, because generally we're saying the same kind of stuff. So pretty amazing that she's saying this. I want to play more of her presentation. It is just so spot on in terms of addressing right-wing talking points from a left-wing perspective. I'm going to play some more.
Country who are counting on you to get your shit straight so we can get our country straight. I want to dare you, DSA, to remember that you live in a country where there is fascism, full-blown fascism is happening around us. And if you don't see that, then we got problems. You are living in a country where we are literally stripping babies from the mothers of the arms of their mothers. We're literally caging children that have no adequate food or medical care. We literally are stripping children where we don't even know if they're ever going to be reunited with their families. You live in a country that has stripped 23 million people of health care, and every day somebody's trying some way to strip the rest of us with health care and want to ban or block others from even ever trying to get health care. You live in a country who is literally every day trying to find different ways to strip LGBTQ people of their rights. A country that every day, and maybe there are days where you may not hear about it because it's not on Twitter, where unarmed black people are being killed on the streets of their communities all across the country at the hands of police and gun violence. A country where we are literally weakening union power. A country where there's always more threats of war every single day. We are not just living in really dark times, and people say that, and it's true, but we've been here before many times before. And the question that DSA needs to ask themselves is, who do you want to be? What are you trying to do in this moment?
So you see how there was all the left-wing talking points that we're looking for. Poor black people are getting shot in the streets. Everybody's going to take our health care. There's fascism everywhere. These are the rallying cries of the left, that there's this big problem that we have to solve, and that if we don't do something about it, we're gonna allow these fascists to take over. They're gonna kill the black people in the streets. They're gonna take your health care. They're gonna hurt all these people. And if you don't get your act together and work together and work as a socialist force, then you're basically sentencing all these people to die. So the first part, she's basically setting up people to stop being narcissists, to look beyond themselves. And now she's setting up the talking points of the cause, the reason why they must rally, why they must fight against the evil oppressors and And it's a very powerful message because, you know, it's not about you, it's about the others that are suffering. Oh, that evil Trump guy, he's making these people suffer. And if you don't do something about it, well, you're just as bad as the rest of them. See how the powerful message gets framed? So this is the second part, and now she's going to really hammer that home in this third part. I'll play her next part.
What kind of story do you want to be told about DSA 40 years from now? We have to win. This is not a we hope to win, or we're going to try everything that we can to win. We have no choice but to win. There are people in our country who are sitting at home right now figuring out whether or not they can feed their children dinner. There are homeless people right now on the streets of our communities, some of whom are veterans, who are trying to find the next place to sleep tonight. There is somebody right now who literally just put up a GoFundMe because they need to have a life-saving surgery. We have undocumented people who every day got to change their routes and how they go to work so that they're not stopped by Gestapo ICE. There are children who are sitting in schools who are being put in other rooms or being punished with detention because they couldn't pay their lunch debt. We have millions of people in our country in utter poverty, and we should be ashamed of ourselves. DSA, if you are here because DSA is supposed to be making you feel comfortable, you're in the wrong place. If you are here to tell DSA you need to do these 17,899 things to make me feel good, this is not the organization for you. If you are in DSA to take one collective liberation movement to divide it up into things that make you feel comfortable, this is not the organization for you. There are people who are counting on us. Literally. There are people whose lives depend on us building a political movement that is centered on values and principles and the most broken and marginalized people in this country. So, freedom in this country is not free. It's just not. So if you think that you're going to talk to me about capitalism and we got to smash the patriarchy and capital, I get that. Got to do parallel tracks because you live in a capitalist nation right now. I'm sorry to break it to you. And in order for us to build a sustainable movement that is worthy to the people we are fighting for, we got to get our finances together. We need money to build this movement, right?
So I'm not sure if you noticed in this third part of her presentation, she said some really powerful things. She said, you know, there's people dying and we gotta do something, and she uses like the language like Gestapo and things like that, where she's really hinting at fascism rising in the community and in the country, and that there's these undocumented migrants, like that's a language of the left for illegal aliens, but she'll use the language of the left to say, oh, these poor people, they're just here because they need it, you know, they need to live and, you know, whatever. So the point is, she's saying there's all these people that are suffering, and there's this evil oppressive force that's going to kill them. And she's really setting up that whole message, and it has such power behind it because it's setting up these really visual arguments that appeal to the young people. They see that, oh, the plight of these people, oh, we got to do something. And there was something pretty amazing that happened in just those few points when she was saying them. People were clapping. Now, natural reaction when you hear something you really like is to clap. Well, this is even bigger because at this convention, they're all told to use their jazz hands, that they're not allowed to clap. But because of her compelling presentation, they're clapping anyways. And that means that they forgot, oh, we got to use our jazz hands. They're compelled. They're compelled to applaud her. And that's how powerful her message is to these people. It's amazing, like that she can make them even forget the crazy socialist indoctrination that they were following of, like, jazz hands and all this other stuff, and they were really engaged. Now, you'll see that also she talks about, oh, you're in a capitalist system, and oh, I feel sorry for you, but this is the reality. And she's trying to break their bubble. And she's trying to get them to embrace socialism as a way to get out of their bubble. Now, normally we think of the left as really reinforcing the bubble, staying in their bubble, that they don't have a good sense of reality. But what she's trying to do is break them out of the bubble so that they can sort of realize where they should be, but bring them into socialism. And this is very dangerous. This is much more fundamental than the normal left-wing message that you normally hear. And this is why she's such a dangerous woman. And it's good to hear her speak, because if you sort of break it down, you can say, well, hey, what she's saying is just total garbage. But what do we do to combat that garbage? And it's not about facts. It's not about feelings. It's about feelings. It's about how to get people who are young, emotional, to embrace ideas, and you have to do it through feelings. And she's doing a very good job of doing that. And we have to do even better job of engaging these people, where we say, hey, here's where you should go, and here's some better ideas, and you really guide them with breaking their little bubbles and showing them very emotional arguments, but also some analytical arguments. It's not as bad as you might think. Blacks are okay. They're not getting killed in the streets. Don't worry. And there's a reason why they're getting killed, and we can do something about it. And that's the kind of argument that you can make, and it's an emotional argument that you can sort of guide them away from the evils of socialism, because socialism will guide them the wrong way. It's just a bad system. So I'm going to play the last part of her presentation, and then I'll make my final comments on what she said. I hope you're enjoying this so far. And for me, it's very fascinating the way she's approaching the argument, because it's very different than most left-wing people.
Some of you may be like, well, I have a lot of time on my hands. I can come and volunteer. Not everybody has that time. We need to have organizers, like Cecily said. We need to be able to make sure that we could cover and show solidarity and help uplift and build the capacity of movements all over this country. And DSA has that power, has the resources and the capabilities to do that, and we need to do that. So I say to all of you that while you're all trying to build the revolution, while you're all trying to smash patriarchy and end capitalism, which is probably something we may all agree on here, in the meantime, there are really hurt, broken people that know that that's not happening, at least not by next year. So that means in this time, DSA people will have to realize that we got to alleviate harm on the people who are being the most harmed in this country. So don't be all about you and I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't feel. It's not about you. It really is not about you. Tonight, when you're voting tonight on NPC members, you vote for the most qualified people, the most compassionate people, the most passionate people, the people with the track records in their DSA chapters who have done bold and transformative organizer. It's not about who you like and who's in another faction and who's in another caucus. It's not about that. And if that's what you're going to do tonight, then you're proving to marginalized people all over this country that you don't give a damn about the most broken people. You only care about yourself and what you believe and what you think. So I came here to tell DSA this. I'm counting on you. I come here because I am in solidarity with you. I am a card-carrying DSA member because I see the potential of DSA. DSA has a lot of potential. People are afraid of DSA. I know they are in New York for sure. I don't know about it everywhere else. So I want to wrap up by saying this. We live in a country that has done horrible and atrocious things to people. And if we keep internally fighting amongst ourselves, We are giving the opposition the pathway to create more atrocities against our people, more than they already are. Unity is not uniformity. We all come from different places. We have all been brought up different ways. Some of us are immigrants. Some of us are children of immigrants. Some of you are from the South. Some of you are from the North, from the East Coast and the West Coast. We're all not going to agree on everything. Guess what? That's normal, people. That's just normal, just so you know. But, so unity is not uniformity. So you cannot have an organization who's going to cater to every single human being that is in that organization, and everybody wants to see that's not how this works. This is a collective organization where we pick principles and values that bring us together. And if you care about other things outside of those 10, 15 things, well then go organize around those things. You don't need, there's no way that an organization could be everything to everybody. So I'm not going to lie to you, I've been a little frustrated watching this whole thing. Procedural stuff, there's 5 hours of against this and against that and for this and for that. There are people that are dying in our country. There are people who don't have health care. There are people at the borders right now who are without adequate food, being treated less than animals in our country. And we don't have time for this. Get it together, DSA. Give your resources to DSA. This is all we got, my folks. We are all we got. This is it, people. There's no alternative to what we're trying to do here. So let's find ways to build deep, transformative relationships. Put your money where your mouth is. Support DSA just like the right organizes their money. The left needs to start organizing our money. I'm a monthly donor to DSA, and I'm very proud of that. And I don't do that for many organizations. And I also donated here today. And if you already gave to DSA, give again. You know you have an extra $20 laying around. You may have an extra $50 laying around. You know what? Your investment is solidarity. When you give to something meaningful that's going to help the most broken and marginalized people, that builds a political revolution that centers all of us, where we all feel seen and heard, that, my friends, is solidarity. So let's get it together. Let's win. We got no choice. I'm counting on you, DSA. We got to win. Y'all in? We're going to win? Solidarity.
So you can see, like, people are shouting, they're clapping, they're doing things that show how much they really are getting behind her message. Very powerful presentation. At the end, she's obviously getting in that you have to give money to this organization in order to support it. But you saw how she was saying, you can't be a snowflake anymore. You have to, we have to be unified. And that's a very right-wing kind of way of thinking. And socialism is generally collectivist, right? Everyone has to work together. And right-wing usually is individualistic, but to a point. We're individualistic in terms of everyone, there's a meritocracy and everyone has to show their ability. But also right-wing people are about a sense of community and about having people work together for a common goal. We're usually nationalist when we're right-wing. And nationalism is about having a unifying identity. Now, these kids have been brought up on identity politics where everything is very divisive because you're black, you're queer, you're some different little agenda, like a gender pronoun, and it's all very divisive. So what ends up happening is, people are like so snowflaked and like they have no sense of like community and which they actually need on the left because they really want to collectivize everybody. So what ends up happening is that there's no cohesion because there's no common thread to the way that they're thinking. So as I said, this is normally a right-wing way of thinking, that we have a sense of nationality, that we have a common nationalist way of thinking, and that we think of our society as having some really great things that need to be preserved. Like it's all about preserving, like right-wing sort of way of thinking is you preserve the national integrity. You preserve this national identity. And she's actually kind of inspiring that in these youth, but instead of the national identity, it's the identity of the DSA, which is to just, look at everyone as a collective, working together for the common socialist cause. And I think that's interesting how there's like that kind of parallel with the right-wing talking points and her talking points, that there's like the very, very similar in a lot of ways. And it's kind of sort of interesting because it makes it very hard as somebody coming from the right to diffuse it. Because what she's doing, she's taking this national identity that the right-wing people will try to push, and she's replacing it with this socialist identity that sounds like it's taking care of everybody. It sounds like it's doing everything it can to support everybody, and it sounds like a really, really nice thing. So basically what she's done is she's taken people where they need a sense of cohesion. They're lacking this because they've been divided so long in their whole upbringing. This me culture that we have nowadays has really created divisions amongst everybody. And for somebody to unify is very appealing. So this is a really strong message that has to be diffused. If it isn't diffused and with some intelligence behind it, she's going to win. And this push for socialism will win if not addressed. And it's really important for us to hear these messages and to respond to them. I've seen so many response videos about the Democratic Socialists of America, and all they do is they make fun of them. I mean, sure, they're idiots. Sure, they do their jazz hands. Sure, they say him, her pronoun stuff. But look at what they're saying to the people in the audience. That all that other stuff is just fluff and silliness. The message that they're trying to convey is very, very powerful. And if we don't fight that message, we're going to lose these people. These people are all going to go down their crazy little road, and we're going to have the socialist dictatorships that we all fear. Socialism kills. Don't let your kids do socialism. And this has been Socially Triggered. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment, like, subscribe, do all that wonderful stuff, and give me your thoughts below. Thanks for watching. Bye.